On today's Fit to Eat, I'll be preparing a turkey and cheese casserole with tricolor peppers. Our guest is Java Chatman, producer of Deep South Dining with MPB Think Radio. We're going to take a trip to Starkville to learn about the history of their famous Edam cheese, and registered dietitian Rebecca Turner has some easy, cheesy omelet recipes that you've got to try. It's going to be a great show, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Fit to Eat. I'm your host, Rob Stinson. Today's guest is the producer of Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio, Java Chatman. Java, it's great to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here, Rob.
Oh, we're going to have fun, all right?
That's what we're here
They told
to
me
do.
to mess with you, so we're going to have a good time doing it.
We can do whatever.
I think so. So what we're going to do today, and this is really kind of a fun one, we're talking about Edam cheese. We're going to go to Starkville, and I'm going to do a healthy version of what could be very well a family casserole.
Okay.
You know, and we'll be talking about feeding families and how important it is for people here in Mississippi. But let's get started on this recipe, because what I wanted to do is show people all the beautiful color here, and all that preparation was done literally in one day. I did it. Now, any family out there could do that. So they get all of their food put together, and you could plot out what you might want to be able to use each week. And maybe it's the farmer's market, maybe it's your superstore, whatever's convenient for most folks. But on this recipe in particular, I'm going to get us started with a little bit of oil. And again, we really focus on low fat. So about a half a teaspoon of oil is all that's in there. I spread it around the pan so that it won't stick no matter where you put it. Then we're going to add in onions first. And I love to get those kind of good and going, because they form that coating on the bottom of the pan. And if they brown a little bit more, it's even better. Now that we've got our onion and our garlic in there, I'm going to throw in a little black pepper. And we'll toss a little more in as we go. Some roasted, diced red bell pepper. And we're using them throughout the whole recipe again. And then I've got some beautiful lean, perfectly lean, 93% lean ground turkey.
We love ground turkey in my house.
Oh, I swear, man. And I mean, look how pretty that is. And you can tell it's lean when you look at it and you don't see all the white in it. And look at that perfect fresh color, that beautiful pink color it has. And I tell you, it's available everywhere now. You know, there was a point in time it was hard to find.
Yeah, turkey was almost a luxury. Now it's readily available.
I know, and I love it. Now, we're going to throw in some of our parsley right in now. Sage is a fun flavoring. Sage, if you don't know, is the flavor that most families think of around Thanksgiving. It's in that stuffing recipe, that traditional. And I like to just bring it together because it's turkey. And, you know, I mean, this ain't the Thanksgiving meal, but it just seemed appropriate. And the idea of it is to get some herbs in here. So with that, I'm going to throw in about half of our green onions.
Oh, yeah.
And then I've got some fresh basil so that we can actually have a little fun with this.
I like the different colors in the dish already.
Well, and that really is what makes it go. Now, white pepper is a little bit spicier, so a little bit less of that. And we're done with it. And now what I'm going to do is kind of break this up. Now, in the pan in front of you, if you'll take the lid off of that, we're going to show people at home a neat, easy trick so that they can actually have flavorful brown rice. This is vegetable stock, no salt. So if you'll put that in the pan, and then regular brown rice. And for those people out there, it's always a 2-to-1 ratio. We'll turn the heat on, kind of move it around, and you can put that lid right back on there. And I'm just going to have you kind of keep an eye on it. When it starts to boil, we'll turn the heat down.
Okay.
Simple. That's all we really got to do. Now, this is kind of the fun part. This is where they set you up. And we've got enough time right now that I thought it might be kind of fun to show you how to flip a saute pan is what they want to do.
Okay.
And they said, whatever you do, don't let them do it with the food pan.
'Cause we
So
gotta eat that.
I'm sitting here, and we're going to eat this one, and yeah. And I've been doing this for years. But here's the trick. It's in that wrist action where you just want to, it's a short, quick, like that.
Just a little flick.
Just a little flick, kind of pushing down and pulling back.
There we go.
Ho ho! Uh-oh, guys. You're
Now-
not gonna. Uh-oh. The
Okay,
crew,
there
the
we
crew's disappointed.
Oh, well.
They were hoping you weren't gonna do it that well.
They're a hard bunch.
That's not bad, huh? That's not bad.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
I wouldn't try it with that.
No, I'm still not letting you try this one. But you know, that's kind of the thing that is important for people to realize is at home they can actually do all of this, and it isn't that difficult. You know, they can't be too scared. Now we're gonna put in the rest of our fresh herbs.
Okay.
So we've got in there parsley, basil, and our green onions, and the rest of our pepper. And you'll notice I've saved this beautiful Edam cheese.
Yeah.
Figure, we're going to Starkville. You know, they're known for Edam cheese, so I figured it was only right that we used it.
Go Bulldogs. I'm a Jackson State Tiger, but we show love to the Stark Vegas.
Well, I tell you what, I stay out of it because the way I look at it, I've got a lot of restaurants, and I've got fans from all over, and if I pick a side, they just might not want to come to my restaurant. So I try to stay neutral. But I love college sports.
Oh,
That's where it's at for me. Now, this is moving along real well. I want to take a little second of time.
Okay.
Let's turn the heat down here, and let's turn the heat down on this one. I can see it's bubbling in there. And on the side, we're going to add in this shredded cheese to the casserole. But before we do that, I thought it'd be kind of simple. People probably have one of these things in their kitchen. They're like, I'm not using it. I don't know what it is. I'll buy that processed grated cheese.
In the bag.
Oh, and man, you know what they do with that? You know how they make money with that? They load it with salt. The one thing you'll notice, we do not have in any of this food that you're looking at, and I will never have on this show, salt. No added sugars, no salts, and no white flour. We have stuck to our guns for 8 years. So people, when you're buying those products in the store, you got to think about it. It's processed, it's got some type of preservative or salt in it. So fresh cheese, beautiful Edam cheese. Take the side, now there's several sides. This will slice it. This will shred it the way I've done. This will fine grate it like grated Parmesan. So if it was a hard cheese,
Okay.
and I chose the Edam cheese works really well because it's one of the lower in fat. Let me just do one quick toss here.
You don't want me to get in there?
No. We're still, I'm being a little cautious. But seriously, so keeping your fingers away from this, because these are sharp, and literally just moving down like this, you see I've got it on a plate, and as you push it one direction, turn it, that'll keep it from having those shredded edges. You see how you don't have any of that coming around the edge that you'd end up throwing away? So as you move it down, turn the block. And that's vital because what it does is it uses every single bit of the cheese. And most people just simply don't know that. So as you do it now, tap it on the bottom, and look at that. I mean, that's just beautiful cheese.
That is.
So that's what we're going to be using. Let's move it over here on the side. And I tell you what, you got to admit too. There you go, your hand lost
I'm
it.
in there.
All right, well, what I'm going to do on this part is take and actually put all of the ingredients right into that casserole dish. And you see, not by accident does it just fit in there perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's still got oil in this pan. I'm going to turn the heat up on it. This is nothing more than grated cauliflower. So no, you know how most casseroles you put bread on top?
Yes.
We're not doing that. We're going to stay with something that's actually added. And think about this for your kids. You talk about going home and cooking for your family.
All the time.
I mean, obviously the worst thing is fast food, but more importantly, and a little bit of the color in this pan is fine. The one thing I like to do, cooking on top as much, we're going to put this in the oven, but cooking in one pan keeps you cleaning to a minimum, you know? So we throw this cauliflower in the pan, and then we're going to kind of move it around and just let it sit there. And all it's doing is just kind of lightly browning it on that side.
Now, is this pulling out the flavor in the cauliflower?
It absolutely is. It absolutely will give it a little texture. You see how it's just, and we're not browning it much. I don't want it to brown because it's got to go in the oven still. But it's enough that it turns it crispier. And then you've got what is almost the same as breadcrumbs. So we're going to put this all around the top. And you got to be careful because it's hot. I mean, that was hot oil in the bottom of that pan. I'm just saying, if you're doing this with your kids, which is so much fun, you know, you talk about trying to get your kids involved. This is something that's really kind of neat for them to see. So the way that that's set there is perfect. Turn that heat down. And now really the last piece of the puzzle is putting that cheese around the top of the casserole.
That's gonna look so good melted.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. And I wish people could get the aroma. I know you can, but it is just incredible right now standing over it. Now we're gonna take it, put it in the oven at 400 degrees. It's already warm. And that's gonna brown that cheese and melt that cheese. Ooh!
Yeah, it's gonna be
Any of these recipes, now nobody's gonna remember everything that we're doing. They can go to mpbonline.org/fit-to-eat and get all of the recipes. And right now, we're gonna take a short break and visit Mississippi State University in Starkville. Well, they'll tell us a little bit about how Edam cheese came to be, as well as show us how they're involved in the process from start to finish. Take a look. Awesome job. I'm impressed.
It all gets started early in the morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning, with the milk piped into the dairy plant from the tanker truck. We have 175 to 180 head Jersey and Holstein cows just south of campus at Sesam's. They milk twice a day, which our dairy plant has a tanker truck that they go down to the farm, getting milk to the system and into the vats for the cheese making process to begin. Our main product is Edam cheese, which we've been making since 1938. It comes in a waxed seal with a vacuum sealed wrapper around it. It's got the Mississippi State seal on it. It is a 3-pound cannonball is what we call it. It is a big ball of cheese. Originated with Professor Herzer, bringing a unique product to Mississippi State. We started with the wooden tiki molds back in 1938, and just through the years it has evolved into, of course, a plastic design. We've probably got 200-300 of those plastic molds that they use to make the cheese, and so it's graduated over the years to a different process, but still similar to what they used back in 1938. So we started making Edam cheese about 10 a day, and then as time progressed, we were capable of making 50,000 a year. They produce quite a few. All cheeses go through an aging process. The longer you can let it age, the more flavorful it would be. So the Edam cheese will go through a 3-month aging process. Similar to a mild cheese, it's like a cheddar. The cheddar cheese is aged a little longer, 6 months to a year, so it gives it the sharper flavor. So once it's aged, then it's ready to be boxed. We see people from all parts of the country. They come here because they either heard about us or they are coming back for a second and third time. We've been a great part of the tradition of Mississippi State University, and so we want them to take a little bit of us back home with them. We've been here for 80 plus years, and I see it moving forward and growing 80 more years.
Welcome back to Fit to Eat. If you're just joining us, Java Chatman and I are right in the middle of preparing today's recipe. So what you think, huh?
I can't wait for what's in the oven to come out.
Woo, I know, huh? You are going to get a sample of that. It may only be one bite, though. This crew is pretty territorial. All right, so I'm going to throw this rice in here quick because we got a lot we need to still talk about. I'm putting in now onions, celery, tomato. So those celery and tomato were not in the first, but the red bell pepper, the yellow bell pepper, and the garlic most definitely were. and so is the green onion. We're going to start it with about half of our parsley. And while I'm tossing this all around, and actually the only other thing I need to put in here is just a little bit of black pepper, not too much. This is not a spicy dish. Okay, so obviously, Java Chatman, Deep South Dining, you got to tell me all about it, all right? Because I got to hear all this.
Well, Deep South Dining is the show all about the culture of Southern flavor, and it comes on every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on MPB Think Radio. And I am the producer of the show, but it is hosted by two wonderful hosts, Malcolm White, and if you're from Mississippi, everybody knows the name
knows
Malcolm White. And hosted also by Carol Puckett, who is, if I'm not mistaken, the hospitality director for Viking once upon a time, and the founder of Everyday Gourmet. So they come on every Monday morning and just have a good time, all centered around what I like to call the great connector, food. And, you know, here in the South, nobody does food better than we do.
Hey, you know what? And I hate to say it, but I'll go travel out of town, and if I'm up north, it's a shame. And I hate to say that to my mother, because that's where she was, but the food just can never compare.
Yeah, and it's always funny to me that if no matter where you travel in the country, even internationally, you will find places with the titles such as soul food place, and we all know that's just a code word for Southern.
Right, right. Because they don't want to have to admit that they're using our cuisine in their area.
That's it. That's
but
right.
It has all the flavor. It really does. And I love that style of cooking. But I've listened to the show, too, and it's really entertaining, but it's educational at the same time.
Yeah, we talk about everything on the show, from just getting in the kitchen, even if you're a novice, all the way to celebrated chefs such as yourself and people like Elizabeth High School, who was a recent guest on the program.
Makes it a lot of fun, too, when people can identify, okay, now, we're going to get our veggies a little drunk.
Okay.
I'm going to deglaze, and that's a big word. All it means is get all that flavor off the edge of the pan. And the wine will evaporate out, leaving no alcohol. But you see what it did? All those veggies are kind of intact, and now we can add in the rice so that we can kind of stir it all together. Now, this would be the really tricky one. This is definitely...
Oh, I mean, come on, Rob. Don't get scared on me. I'll get into it.
Come on, one little quick one. All right. Okay, that's all right. Hey,
it was a baby.
It's all right.
It was a baby.
It's okay. At least you gave it a shot. And I tell you, for me, I think the educational value of what we're doing, we started off talking about it, but I want to kind of get into a little bit more education here. So on the side, while that rice is cooking, I'm going to turn that heat down because, to be honest with you, everything in there is cooked. I just want to kind of keep it warm. And I want to show people, because they're scared of fresh herbs.
Yeah.
So parsley, this is one of the more common things they can buy in the store, but it adds great flavor to potatoes, to rice, to seafood. So let's look at how simple this is. I like a cleaver. You can buy these really cheap in any store, and I cut it coarse first. And I'm taking the majority of where it's green around the edges. So you could use all the rest, but just so we can do it for time, I move it over to the side. And now that it's here on the board, this is the trick. Keep this point down, and your right hand just going up and down. If you're left-handed, it works the same way backwards. And by the time you get done, you're going to find when you chop parsley up enough, it like triples in volume. Look at that little bit that we started with. And now you keep coming down the line. You go backwards, forwards, because it's getting finer and finer. And then all I really do is just kind of keep pushing it into the middle so that those bigger pieces get chopped as well. And I tell you what, you got to admit, that's not so difficult that people can't do it. They can do this with basil. They can do it with oregano. They can take any of those fresh herbs. And if you go to a farmer's market and they have fresh herbs, you can buy them so inexpensive.
Now, as you're chopping it, it keeps hitting my nose. Like you're unlocking the flavor.
There's absolutely no doubt. It's so different. And I hate to say this thing, going to the store and buying a bottle where it's dried and you get no flavor. You
Yeah.
get nothing. You don't get that nose that you call it, and that's so important that you recognize that, because the people out there don't know. But if you do this at home with basil, the whole room will smell of basil. You know, basil's a real strong flavoring, but I just love using it, and I mean, that was easy. You know, it doesn't take much. So for all of these recipes, they can go to mpbonline.org/fit-to-eat to find the full recipe for everything you see here, as well as some more information on what we've been talking about today. So I just really, really enjoy kind of having some fun with this. And this is exactly what I did. This is why I left this here and why I left the parsley chopped on the side. When we bring the casserole out,
Okay.
it's going to have a little bit of that topped for beautiful color. And then maybe, since you've done so well, you get a bite of that casserole.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break and check in with registered dietitian Rebecca Turner. She's got a super easy way to make delicious omelets that you've got to try for yourself. Check it out. Awesome.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Nutritionally speaking, an ounce of cheese, like all dairy foods, provides bone-building calcium and protein. Not to mention, it just makes meals taste good. Utilize low-fat cheese in your morning meal by adding it to a mason jar omelet. Mason jar omelets are an easy-to-make and take-with-you balanced breakfast. All you need is a half-pint mason jar and some nutritious ingredients. Start by spraying your mason jar with a little nonstick spray, and then add in a variety of vegetables. My go-tos are chopped peppers, mushrooms, broccoli, and then a handful of spinach. I toss in a pinch of shredded cheese, and then I crack in a fresh egg, plus maybe 1 to 2 egg whites. Now give it a good stir with a fork and pop it into the microwave for 1 to 3 minutes total. Now you may need to go in smaller time increments and give it a little stir in between. Once your omelet's done, let it cool while you finish your morning routine, and then take a breakfast that is balanced and fit to eat on your way.
Welcome back to Fit to Eat. I'm here with Java Chatman, and we're almost done. I got a surprise for you.
All right, all right.
All right, so we got to get this casserole out the oven.
Uh-oh.
And oh my goodness. All right, go ahead. That is your plate.
I'm ready already.
And I'm going to cheat and just take a little corner of this, and then I'm going to do a little fix-it work here.
Let's see.
And put a little fresh cheese right back in that corner, so it still stays looking so pretty. The last part is our little parsley garnish, and by the time we're done, that parsley will cover that melted cheese. So,
Chef Rob,
last part.
come on.
Is this serious?
Yes.
So let me get this part started here real quick, because I want to talk about something that's really that Deep South Dining is known for, and the message that needs to go out to the families. But let's do this real quick. Garlic and spinach.
Now, what are we doing now?
We're blanching some spinach.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is going to be to make a pretty little base for these tri-colored peppers that I've got. And we don't need all of that, because watch what happens when we do this. And that spinach is going to shrink away to nothing in about 2 seconds.
But see, this is just like on Deep South Dining. We know that everybody, or anybody for that matter, was not born learning or knowing how to blanch or saute
Right. Exactly.
or flambe. You weren't born knowing
or any part of that.
Yeah, you weren't born knowing how to do that. So on Deep South Dining, Monday mornings at 9 a.m. on MPB Think Radio, we try to bring everything closer to home and let you know it's okay to get in the kitchen and experiment and try different things that you haven't tried before.
And there's no right or wrong. You know,
there's no rules in the kitchen.
The thing that I want to, and I implore people to think and hear me on this, when they go to the store, half the time, and I know so many people who do this, they go there expecting to find something that they may not have. You got to be able to improvise. You know, there's nothing wrong with improvising and playing, but the idea that you're talking about of getting people into that kitchen with their family That's got to be first and foremost.
Always, always. You have to eat, so you might as well eat good.
Absolutely. So we're going to take one last little bit of this, get this pan really hot, toss these guys all around.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. It makes it so much fun. Then we're going to hit a little bit more to deglaze these, and that'll help steam. We're really almost steaming these with a little pepper and garlic because I want them to stay so pretty and clean looking. And again, mpbonline.org/fit-to-eat. You can get all of this information on the recipe.
Now, this entire meal, this is something I could do after work?
Well, you see it, real time.
Okay.
Real time, this simple. And I like to keep these I call for my kids crunchy candy peppers. Because they're still crunchy, they still taste sweet. And look at how beautiful that plate is. So, look, we're basically out of time at this point, and I know you got to be able to finish that. But I want to thank Java Chatman for joining us today. And if you want to learn anything about what you've seen here on this episode, then head over to mpbonline.org/fit-to-eat. And don't forget to follow and like our Facebook page. Until next time, I'm your host, Rob Stinson. Eat well.